Hello, everybody, and welcome to our post Wrestlemania Backlash Raw edition review. I'm joined by special guest, none other than Steve from SCW. I'm Jonesy as always. How are you today, Steve?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. It's great to be here as always. It's time to give the Backlash to Backlash.
Really looking forward to discussing this. Coming off a fantastic pay-per-view this past Sunday. Did you have a lot of sort of excitement for some of the stuff they'd announced beforehand? Were you looking forward to this Raw?
I mean, I feel like a parrot every single week when I talk about if I'm looking forward to Raw or not. Unfortunately, Raw is not really the show I look forward to most every week. But the thing is, we're coming off a big pay-per-view, and I think that mostly everything delivered. I was frightened about one or two segments, but no, I was open-minded for this Raw.
Definitely. So we're going to break it down in detail as always. As always, we want to hear your comments in the comment section. Please let us know what your thoughts of Raw were. Any topics you want us to discuss over the next hour. We're going to cover Raw in detail as always. It's great to have you here as well, Steve. Just before we kind of go into Raw, let's start with a bit of news, really. So coming off of that fantastic pay-per-view on Sunday, there was an update regarding The Miz. The Miz unfortunately suffered a knee injury at WrestleMania Backlash. He torn his left ACL. We don't know how long the injury is, but rumors are going around the moment he could be out for 9 months. What are your thoughts?
It's horrible, isn't it? I mean, the thing is, we have to look at The Miz and say that some people love him, some people hate him, but you can't deny what he's given to the business. And he's not been injured before like this. I mean, he's been there every day for like 17 years. So, unfortunately, this is a real shame, and you can only wish him a speedy recovery. Let's take everything out of the zombie thing that was around in that match. I mean, I wasn't a fan of the match per se, but the performance in there, it's always health and safety comes first. And no, I wish The Miz back in a WWE ring as soon as possible.
100%. My thoughts are with The Miz. I think this certainly shows that they probably shouldn't have done the zombie thing. I think the fact that they risked him sort of going out there with all the stuff going on, the craziness of it, it sort of really didn't pay off, did it, in the long run now because of this?
Unfortunately not. I mean, accidents can happen. I mean, obviously they could do this over 100 more times and it would be fine. But I mean, of course, it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, if anyone has seen my review, they know I wasn't really a fan of that match. But looking at it though, Miz, I mean, he is a talented performer. He's great on the mic, and he will be missed in his absence. I mean, I'm sure when he comes back, hopefully, it'll provide something big. I just wonder what's going to happen for John Morrison in the meantime in WWE.
Yeah, definitely. It's a real shame because I really thought we'd get the John Morrison Miz split that we've been waiting for very many months. But thoughts are out to the Miz. Definitely get well soon. I hope it sort of goes well, whatever surgery he needs. But let's kind of move forward then. So we're getting into this Monday Night Raw. So Monday Night Raw, show opens up. We've got Bobby Lashley with MVP. Lashley's walking backstage. He's got loads of women. It's almost like the Godfather there with his harem. We end up with MVP there. MVP announces Lashley to the ring. It does end up kind of with Lashley coming out. Lashley basically says that he's pretty unstoppable. He says that he injured sort of Braun Strowman's ribs and stuff like that. It does end up that MVP says there's going to be an open challenge tonight to determine who's going to face Lashley in the main event. It does end up with Drew McIntyre coming out. MVP then comes out and says, although Drew thinks the open challenge is a fantastic idea, McIntyre won't be eligible for it, neither will Braun Strowman. It does end up kind of with Drew coming out to attack Lashley, and it ends up with kind of Lashley and MVP running up the ramp. What did you kind of think of this opening segment?
Yeah, it was. I didn't mind this opening segment, to be honest, and quite a few things you pointed through there. You said the Godfather there with the ladies. I kind of thought myself. I thought of AEW with the Pinnacle last week. Everyone's saying that AEW's copying WWE stuff. Hey, yeah. It's only a week later, guys. But looking at it, Braun Strowman, another one, sadly, apparently injured at the pay-per-view. Let's hope he has a speedy recovery. Apparently, there is rumours with his ribs as well, like you say. So let's hope that he's back in the ring as soon as possible. But overall, the segment, I thought it was decent. I mean, clearly, it's building towards Lashley versus Drew McIntyre once again. We have seen this play out for quite a while now, but Hell in a Cell usually is now the next pay-per-view announced. It's not Money in the Bank, so this is usually a pay-per-view that settles feuds. So fingers crossed, if this is going to be the direction towards Hell in a Cell, this will be the final time these two can go their separate ways afterwards. But as an opening segment for Raw, I was fine with this.
Yeah, I think it was an okay opening segment. I think you're getting all the parts out there. But as you said, Drew versus Lashley, Hell in a Cell. I just don't think there's a lot of heat in this feud yet. We've seen this feud sort of quite a few months now, and the feud's been so one-sided. Every single time Lashley's kind of got one up on Drew besides this week. They really need to start getting this sort of even to really put a chance of getting our interest in it, really. I think the Hell in a Cell, for me, I would love the Hell in a Cell to be saved for feuds that are bitter. This doesn't seem to have any bitterness in it yet. I don't know if you agree with that or disagree.
I mean, yeah, I mean, the thing is with Drew that there is that budding rivalry going on, but I know what you mean. It's taking it to where it feels really personal, and obviously as we go into Raw later on during this podcast, we will perhaps see the first part of here where we think maybe there could be a bit of personalism thrown into this. But I wonder there could be one or two very different directions here for Hell in a Cell, and I will touch on those as we go further into the video.
I look forward to hearing them. Let's move forward then. So we had our first match of the night. We've got one half of the Raw Tag Team Champions with AJ Styles, and that's with Omos facing Elias with Jackson Riker. This was actually a really, really good match. It was really kind of solid. Crucially, we do end up with AJ Styles winning by disqualification. It does end up kind of with Riker and Elias sort of running off. Omos scares both men. What did you think of this opening match?
I must admit, I mean, you said it was a good match, and yeah, I mean, both guys.
I thought it was okay. I wouldn't say it was anything to write home about, in all honesty.
No. And the thing is, I'm a massive AJ Styles fan, and everything AJ does usually when he touches the goal. But unfortunately, with the way that this match finished, it felt a bit like a waste of time for me, a bit of filler. And AJ and Elias, it's going to be a running theme here through Raw, but I've seen this match for 10, 15 minutes, 2 or 3 times this year on Raw. So for me, I didn't feel the need to necessarily see it again. Maybe this is the direction for the Tag Team Championships in the meantime, but it doesn't feel like a pay-per-view feud. But one thing I found the most interesting part of it was, have AJ Styles and Omos turned babyface in the role this week on Raw? What were your thoughts, Jonesy?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think that's a good analysis. I think the thing with it, they've been doing a slow babyface turn. Even at WrestleMania, they were making babyface mannerisms, like with the delay of the tag to Omos as well. They are trying to do the babyface thing. It's a really interesting observation you make that. And for me, I thought this was okay. It's great to see AJ on the camera because we didn't get him at the pay-per-view. But I don't really want to be seeing AJ and Elias again and again and again. It's one of them matches where we've seen it once or twice, and I just think it's a bit filler, as you said. It just felt a bit deja vu for me, unfortunately.
Absolutely. But I suppose the only thing I would say into defense of it is that if they're going to do this as a rivalry for the Tag Team Championships, probably the strongest match you can put together right now is AJ versus Elias. I don't think I'd be interested in seeing AJ versus Jackson Riker for 15 minutes on Raw. And I mean, Omos probably isn't in the position right now where he's probably able to go for a 10, 15-minute match himself against either of them. I imagine it would probably more likely be a squash if Omos was involved in there. So that's the key. He's the attraction to this. So AJ has to do a lot of the dirty work. And AJ, I mean, like I say, he can carry any performer to a great match. So I'm interested to see how it's going to play out. But for me, I have no fear of the Tag Team Championships changing hands in this rivalry anytime soon.
Definitely. I'm going to disagree with you for once. I think the money feud really is RK Bro versus AJ Styles and Omos. I think that's the real money feud. But the problem with that, I guess once you're booking that, you can't really have either team lose. I do get that. So maybe the Elias one is far safer, if that makes sense.
That's what I feel at this moment. They're probably building up to that to a later pay-per-view because I agree with that is the money. There's no other match that's bigger in the tag team division right now. But if they need to do it on a pay-per-view that's worthy, and I think if they do it as soon as Hell in a Cell, it feels a bit too quick for me. I personally would hope it's delayed till SummerSlam because, say, for example, AJ and Omos lose or RK Bro lose, we both know with both of these teams, eventually they are going to split up. So it depends which team loses to which one's going to do it first. But yeah, there's lots of different dynamics. Maybe they will rush this because I'm also wondering, I'm hearing lots of rumors, and this is kind of going slightly off tangent, Joseph, so I do apologize.
That's fine.
I know we've discussed this already, but Raw wants to potentially shake things up a little bit. They're not entirely happy with the lack of main eventers in the roster, which I think is another topic we will touch on later. But obviously with Randy Orton and AJ Styles being tied up in the tag team division, do you think they will want to actually split one of these teams back up? Or do you think they'll actually perhaps do an earlier draft this year?
I think they need to do an earlier draft. I think the RK Bro storyline, as you said, it's one of them that's got to be there for the longevity. I think there's real scenes this week of a heel turn tease from Matt Riddle, which is a very interesting dynamic if they go down that road, which will further delay any split, if that makes sense. Going to quickly go to the comments just before we carry on with Raw. We've got quite a few comments in. So thank you guys for your comments so far. WrestleMania QK, Mex, muted a work meeting to tune into this. I wish it wasn't Raw being discussed. Thank you, Mex, for your comment. I agree. I wish it wasn't Raw being discussed, but thank you for your comment. Good one here from NXT Steve. Thank you for tuning in, Steve, and your comment. Evening, gentlemen. With the zombie segment being declared as one of WWE's worst things ever, I want you to show some love to it and name a segment worse than zombies. May Young birth in the hand. You can go first with that, Steve, if you got sort of...
Well, I mean, as Vince McMahon said back in that, it's a hand. No, I mean, to be fair, that is a long path of the same thing. Katie Vick, Naked Midian. There's been some awful things.
Katie Vick is the one, isn't it? Let's be fair.
Yeah.
That is up there. That's a great shout, Steve.
There are some awful ones back in the day, but certainly I would say the zombie one is definitely in the top 5.
Yeah, I think you're probably there. To be fair, I'd agree. I think I would say Katie Vick for controversial reasons. I think that's probably definitely the one. Got one from Nubico. Good afternoon, Lou. Thank you for your comment. Checking out the video. Okay, bro, will most likely win the tag team titles at SummerSlam this year. I think that's a great shout. Big show. It would make sense, definitely. Got a good one here from Rated R for Wrestling, Anthony. Good afternoon to you, Anthony. Thanks for that stream. ECW Zombie, Backlash Zombies. I agree. 100%. We got a controversial comment here as well. Rated R for Wrestling again. Naked Midian was over.
Not with my eyes.
He was the job boy for the corporate ministry. That's about it, wasn't it?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I think he's better as Phineas Godwin, in all honesty. That's a totally different tangent altogether again.
Yeah, absolutely. Throwback to 96.
Definitely. Got a good one here, Martin Carrillo. Hi, Stephen Jonesy. Good afternoon in the UK. How would you guys explain Raw in 4 words? Do you want it clean or do you want it sort of how it is?
I'm not for that.
You can go first, Steve. How would you describe Raw in 4?
Clean or not? No, let's keep it clean. Let's see. Repetitive, boring. I would say Kofi Mania, probably one thing I'd throw out there. And one other one. Interesting. Nikki, we'll go for Nikki Cross because she was back on Raw, and I was really pleased to see that. That's something I look forward to that later on.
Definitely. I'm going to go to my 4 words to describe Raw. So my 4 words are repetitive, uneventful, uncreative, and just a chore. I think that's kind of the thing. But that's what you do as a wrestling fan. You put up with the good and bad. We had a fantastic pay-per-view the night before. You've got to ride with the good and the rough, really. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
Going to quickly go on with Raw, and so obviously moving forward, we then obviously had sort of a backstage segment. We've got the New Day and RK Bro. The New Day are speaking backstage with Riddle. Orton walks up and wants to know what New Day are doing here. Riddle basically is almost like set them up. It does end up kind of with Kofi warning Riddle that he can't trust Orton. Orton's got an RKO waiting for him someday. Orton wants Kofi to shut his mouth before he hits him with an RKO. There's some heated words. This is obviously set up a singles match that's set up later for the night. What did you think of this segment?
Sure, I really enjoyed it, actually. I know I'm not the biggest Riddle advocate when it comes to his sort of verbal exchanges backstage, but no, I quite enjoyed this. And I mean, we've been talking about the idea of the money match being RK Bro against AJ and almost long term, but I really like the way that this is playing out with RK Bro and the New Day. I like what they've done building over the last couple of weeks. I like the RKOs by the Viper last week. I like how, they're trying to get things together here. I like the fact we set up another match between Randy Orton and Kofi Kingston. I don't need to make the 2009 and 2019 references. Kofi did it for me. And I mean, this is a match that I was looking forward to seeing because these two, we know there's genuine heat and history between these two. So even though this is a rematch, for me, this felt kind of fresh. So I was looking forward to this.
I was happy to see it. I think it's a great creative thing. Anything with RK Bro at the moment is one of the best things on Raw. I think it really is refreshing. It's great to see Randy Orton in a different kind of dynamic. I think he's still got his old heel mannerisms, yet we've still got Matt Riddle there. And I think this is, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really good. It gets a good thing out there, creating the interest for the match later in the show.
Absolutely. I have to agree with you 100%.
So this next bit's kind of controversial. So we're going to talk about Alexa's Playground, and she's obviously got the women's tag team champions, newly formed women's tag team champions, Natalya and Tamina. So we cut backstage. We got Alexa there on the swing. Lily's there as well. Natalya and Tamina are there. It does kind of end up with Alexa telling Tamina that she hasn't even asked the hard questions. Alexa tells her that Lily wants to know what the favorite colors are. Tamina says black and blue, which is Alexa will be if she tries it on. It does end up kind of with Lily sort of just basically staring at them. Alexa does kind of ask some other questions. They end up walking off and she wishes Lady luck. What did you think of this segment with the tag team champions and Lily and Alexa this week?
I thought Tamina was the star of the segment, to be honest. I think she said what we were all thinking. Can we go now? I mean, the whole Alexa's Playground stuff, I think I've made it clear. I think Alexa is a star. I think she's great with what she's doing, but I'm not a fan of the Lily doll. I'm not a fan of the Playground. But under this dynamic with how it was done, I found it watchable at best. Like I say, I think Tamina, the way she was in this, I'm not the biggest Tamina fan, but somehow she's caught a rocket to her since WrestleMania. And for the first time over these last couple of shows with SmackDown last week and Raw here, I'm starting to almost get aboard the train. So, yeah, I mean, this wasn't entire dislike, but it wasn't my favorite segment of the show either. I don't know about you.
I think for me, the only positive I can put on this, I was relieved it wasn't a match because I had this fear going into Raw, the same fear I had back at the Royal Rumble that Goldberg was going to beat Drew. I had that level of anticipation that Lily and Alexa were going to win the tag team titles. So I was imagining kind of that we were going to get this sort of horror show basically that would have been similar to kind of what we kind of saw with Zombies. I thought we were going to kind of get that, and the fact we didn't get that, it was okay. For me, looking at the show, it was kind of a pointless segment, really. They didn't do anything later on directly involving kind of them. The ricochet effect off that was nothing that involved them, even though Tamina kind of talked down to her. There was no real consequences for that, but it was filler for me. It got the tag team champions on camera. That was about it. Have you got anything else you want to add on this before we get to the comments?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing she said, Alexa, that may have had any relevance to later on was she asking, was it okay to see, hurt Reginald? She sort of seen pleasure from that. But you mentioned the idea of the women's tag team championships. The only thing I will say is that this was the first tease of it. I don't think it's over just yet. So the idea that you've thrown out, I would say that there is a chance it could become reality. Let's not sort of feel relieved just yet.
I did say to you off there that there was a story that I heard this past week, similar source to a lot of the other stuff, so take it what you will. They were having serious pitches about 2 weeks ago of putting the belts on Alexa and Lily as a serious thing. I think the way they're going to try and do it, if they do it, is this metamorphosis of Alexa we saw at WrestleMania was Lily. I think that's kind of the way it is, but for me, I just think it's going to be really, really horrible. You want to keep your tag team belts away from stupidity. It's not Alexa's fault. She's doing the best she can, but this is just harming the women's tag team division in every way, basically, the longer this carries on.
Well, it can't be harming it any more than it's already been harmed, it feels, with Reginald this year and the treatment of breaking up so many teams. But I know exactly what you're saying. These championships are not getting the best of luck in WWE so far. It's unfortunate. It's nowhere near what Impact are doing with their Knockouts Tag Team Championships.
Definitely going to go to the comments. Got quite a few comments. Thank you guys for all your comments. Please put a thumbs up on the video if you've enjoyed it so far. Got a good one here from Rated R for Wrestling Anthony. Naked Medium was over. There's that one there. Not with Stevie, wasn't, that's for sure, based on that reaction. 2 words to describe Raw: utter trash. That was Anthony. I can get that probably. Yeah, very good. Martin Carrillo, money quote again. Mine will be each week recycle, repeat. Definitely.
I like that.
Anthony, maybe Riddle will be more serious character if he turns heel. I agree. I think we both agree that he needs a heel turn. Steve here with Alexander. I just get the feeling I don't have a clue what they're doing with Alexa basically and Lily. I think that's what he said. But what do you think of that? I'd agree kind of with that. He said does say Alexa underneath.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it's like they do these things from week to week. Apparently, the script wasn't ready for Raw until 5:30 p.m. Eastern time. So that's not long before the show kicks off. So, yeah, I mean, some of these decisions seem to be quite last minute with a lot of the segments. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if WWE changes their mind. Like you said, there was a rumored story there. They did preview the idea that Alexa, Tamina, and Natalya would be together in some form of segment before Raw. So it does make me think that this will be potentially the long-term direction. But I just would like to see the right squad. Mandy and Dana, maybe, Lana and Naomi. Just actually use the teams you've got in the division right now and try and establish that with them 4 teams. And if you then need to do something wild and bonkers, then do it then when you've actually made some establishment with the division rather than just burying every team that's got any chance of making it get over.
I agree. Great points. Got some last comments here as well. Rated R for Wrestling. White Castle Fear or Backlash Zombies? Which one do you guys feel better? White Castle Fear. Every day. It may be Vader, quite near the WCW World Heavyweight title, but at least there's some kind of logic there. At least it's funny. At least there's budget that's gone into it. It isn't some dole that's from a pound shop off the floor or something. At least there's some sort of money that's gone into the building of the division.
I had so much fun on that retro we were doing with that when actually discussing that segment and breaking it down for about a good 5 minutes. That was so much fun. Yeah, it's White Castle Fear all day long.
Definitely. So going to quickly go forward as well. So let's go forward kind of with the show then. So obviously we have got sort of our next segment on this. So we obviously got another match. We've got Angel Garza facing Drew Gulak. This is obviously a rematch. It was okay. Nothing really sort of exciting. In the end, we get Angel Garza getting the win. He does do the spot at the end, but he puts the rose in Drew Gulak's mouth. What did you think of the match?
Yeah, I mean, it was a match. I mean, the thing is, maybe the push with Angel Garza's actually on. They're building this for 2 weeks. So, I mean, there's something to it. I much prefer the rose going in someone's mouth than someone's where. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. The only thing I found a bit weird, I say about it going in the mouth and somewhere, Byron Saxton said, I'll never look at roses the same. Surely you should have said that 2 weeks ago, but I digress anyway. But no, the Garza push, it looks like it could be on. And to be fair, he's a talented guy. He deserves to get a push in WWE. I'm happy to see where this is going to go.
Yeah, definitely. It's great to see him getting the time. The fact these guys wouldn't normally got time on TV, I'm a fan of it. They got to start pushing Angel Garza a bit more, but the gimmick's interesting. It's a bit like a budget Val Venus for me. I just don't see him going to that United States title, unfortunately, but it's great to see him get time. That's a positive, at least in this.
Absolutely. Maybe long term he could perhaps get in that area, maybe Money in the Bank, who knows? But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. It's still early days for Garza at this stage.
Definitely. So we obviously had the next backstage segment. We've got the return in R-Truth. We haven't seen him for quite a while. He's there with the 24/7 title. He does a play on Ricky Bobby, thinking it's the Bobby Lashley opening challenge, which is quite funny if you get the reference. It does end up with Akira Tozawa kind of crawling down the stairs like a boogeyman or something like that. He ends up doing a roll-up. Crucially, we've got a new 24/7 champion. What did you think of this?
I hadn't missed that belt not being on TV. I can't lie to you. But what I will say is I did find the segment, watching Tozawa in the background, I thought, that was pretty impressive going down the stairs and not actually taking a tumble. So fair play to him for that. And congrats on the new 24/7 champion.
Yeah, definitely. I think congratulations. Let's see him defend the belt every single week. I think that's the only thing I would ask for it more, really. But it was a fun kind of segment. It didn't really do anything, though. But
no,
it got them on TV at least.
It was the longest time that someone had held that championship. I don't know how long it was, but R-Truth had held it for such a long, probably because it hasn't been on TV for like a good couple of months. But it's the longest reign of any 24/7 champion.
Definitely. Going to go to our next match. So this is obviously a singles match. This is a rematch from SummerSlam 2019. We've got Randy Orton facing Kofi Kingston. Crucially, obviously, Riddle's outside and so is Xavier Woods. It does end up with kind of Randy Orton being distracted by kind of a trumpet. Kofi crucially gets the roll up and gets his first win of the evening. What did you make of the match and what did you think of it?
I think it was okay. I was surprised to see Kofi get the victory, which I thought was a nice touch here. And it protects Randy Orton with, of course, Xavier Woods getting the distraction in. And I guess it does what it needs to do. This is a rivalry that I'm quite interested in seeing.
I think there's a very interesting point after we get this sort of tension and Riddle pushes one of the New Day down, which was interesting. The first time we've really seen some hillsides from him since he's come up to the main roster. What did you make of this? Would you like to see him as a heel?
I mean, I would be very interested in seeing what Riddle can offer as a heel. I mean, I like the idea, though, of the dynamic of Riddle and Randy not being on the same page, but being able to coexist in the ring. I like that kind of oddball dynamic they've got. But at the same time, Riddle, if he was a much more serious character, if he became more Randy Orton-like, I mean, the sky's the limit for Riddle, isn't it? I think because Riddle's an incredible talent in ring. If he actually learns and takes things off Randy Orton, maybe he'll actually get to the next level. Because right now, Riddle, he can get to the United States Championship picture. There's no argument with that. He's already done it once. But I can see, if anything, he won't go any further up. If anything, he'll go back down to the jobber area once Randy Orton's finished with him. So this actual partnership he's got right now is vital for him because it can take him to the next level. And if his character develops with it, I mean, this could be a really, really big deal for Riddle. We could be looking back at this in 2 or 3 years' time and say this was the thing that made him. So it's interesting. I really enjoyed the way that this was done, this twist at the end here. Like I say, for tag team wrestling, you shouldn't be as invested in tag team wrestling in WWE because they don't push it as well as they should. But I'm really digging this feud so far. I'm enjoying it.
Definitely going to put it out there. If Riddle is booked right and they use him properly and sort the character out, this guy could be the Rob Van Dam of 2021. He's got all the character charisma. He's got as good moveset, I'd say. Is that controversial or not? Would you agree with that claim, or do you think that's too much of a claim for him?
Well, he has had the comparisons. RVD is my favorite wrestler of all time. So for me, I personally wouldn't put it to that level. But hell, I'm happy to be proven wrong here because Riddle in ring, he's a heck of a talent. I wouldn't say he's as innovative as Rob Van Dam was, but certainly with gimmick, seriousness, and in-ring ability that he's got, he has the ability to be innovative with his moveset. So I'm happy to see it. Let's see how we can go.
Definitely. Let's go to the comments. Just going to go catch up with the comments now. We've got Noob and Cole. Thank you for the comment, Noob. Worst segment like was what's the point of Alexa's playground segment? Do you want to take that or shall I?
I'll let you take this one. I've already butchered it enough, I feel.
I think it's just out there to basically get getting Alexa to carry on what Bray started, because obviously Bray's off TV at the moment and that whole sort of craziness is not on TV. This is just to replace that and to carry on. It gives Alexa something to do. I don't know what the long-term plan of it is. I'm sure we'll find out hopefully in the coming weeks. Hopefully she'll be back in the ring soon.
I miss Bray.
You miss Bray. I think we all miss Bray, definitely. It'll be great to see him back when he's back. Good one here from Anthony Wade for wrestling. Lee seems to be a top heel right now. Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's sad finish. She's got more airtime than Nikki Cross this year, probably, which is a travesty.
Painful.
Definitely. Martin Carrillo, thank you for your comment, Martin. Reginald is not there to wrestle, but to break up the tag team, ladies and gentlemen. He broke up the women's SmackDown women's title match at WrestleMania, and he broke that up in the build up to that. So he's got a record of breaking stuff up, hasn't he? Let's be fair.
Absolutely. And he's a sommelier as well. I'm sure if he's dropped a tray or two, he might have broken some glasses as well.
Yeah, he may have done. You never know. Let's kind of move forward then. So obviously we've then got this women's tag team championship match. It's a rematch from Friday Night SmackDown. We've got Natalya Tamina defending the belts against Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler. The new champs come out. Great to see them obviously out there. It does end up kind of with Adnan Virk managing to compliment Tamina for obviously a use of the father's signature move when winning the belt. This is an okay match. It doesn't really kind of get started. There isn't a massive amount to it. In the end, it does end up with kind of Tamina popping up. She knocks Nia Jax off the top. Tamina and Baszler brawl as Alexa Bliss comes out on the stage. We then get, obviously, Alexa Bliss looking kind of menacing. Next thing you know, we get Reginald kind of getting thrown across the room almost because there's a pyro similar to Kane. It does kind of end up with the distraction, which allows Natalya to get the tag and hit the heart attack with Tamina, and they get the pin. What did you make of this match and first title defense?
It's got to be Kane. You took the words out of my mouth for me there. Yeah, it was a very sort of Kane-like spot. So I didn't really hate this as much because we've seen Kane do this sort of thing before, that sort of supernatural side. It's not completely too over the supernatural. I could kind of buy into it, I guess. But I mean, the problem with this for me was the camera work, unfortunately, because we could see Reginald was nowhere near it. And of course, no one in their right mind wants him to be any closer to it. No one wants to see accidents happen. No. So, but the camera work could have been better for it because it looked kind of obvious that nothing happened. I noticed that in a few places in this show, actually, through different matches and segments. But for what it was, I mean, the champions have retained here, and obviously the former champions have lost. This means we're going to go off to, hopefully new paths for everybody. Shayna and Nia, maybe there could be the next split tag team, who knows, and go into the rivalry themselves. And that does free up everything. This is what I think is going to lead to it. I think Alexa's got Reginald and done this sort of stuff because she wants to go for the tag team champions. She's just getting the former champions out of the way, which I know probably a few people now are screaming at their screens going, no, please, no.
I think the interesting note, there's a couple of interesting notes. So obviously Alexa and Lily last week targeted Shayna. That was interesting. So that was part one. Part two, obviously, was this week. It's obviously Reginald's been attacked. So do we think that the original kind of plan is going to be that she goes after the sort of Shayna and Nia partnership? Let's look at it. We look at it in a bigger picture. Nia and Alexa have got so much history. Obviously, there's that bullying angle that went on many years ago. And you look at Bray Wyatt when he was the Fiend, he targeted all the people that wronged Bray Wyatt. You know what I mean? They target him, which if they're clever, they would play on that. I think that's a natural way to play on this. But I don't know if I trust WWE to do it right. It could be interesting, definitely.
It could be. I mean, obviously, there's no history with Reginald and Shayna, but I like the idea that you said with Nia, and that certainly would be a different dynamic they could go, and it wouldn't thrust like one of these supernatural characters straight into championship pictures. So I think you make a great point there. I actually think that, dare I say it, for the first time, if that was the direction they would go in, yes, you could argue and say that's what Bray was doing, but I would be slightly invested. I would probably be intrigued to see where that storyline would go. So I think you made a good point there.
Thank you for that. I think it definitely explains why Reginald was attacked. It's the only way logically you can explain it, I think, looking at it sort of with open eyes as such. Going to go to the comments just before we move forward with this. We got a good one here from Martin Carrillo. If Lily becomes tag team champions, will that be the first double champion? Yeah, quite probably. I don't know sort of anybody else that's won a belt that's a non-wrestler, really, apart from... Would you say there's been any other sort of gimmick? I think that'll be the first one. We had Al Snow with Head, but he only won one. He didn't even win the match at Kindler, and he got pinned with a Head and Shoulders bottle, from what I remember.
Yeah, exactly. You took the words out of my mouth there. I mean, yeah, no, there's never been like, I mean, you call non-wrestlers celebrities, but yeah, have there been any props that's done it? No, not to my knowledge.
Definitely got a good one for NXT. Steve, if you could find name five people who could portray Lily in a match. Do you want that, or I can probably do 2 or 3. Do you want to do 2 or 3 as well?
Yeah, we'll split it up. I'll let you go first, and then I can go with the oddball names at the end.
Okay, Nikki Cross. It just gets her on camera. There's a history of Alexa. That's the first one. The second one for me, I would say potentially Paige. That is if she's cleared. That's another one that's got that kind of mysterious look that maybe had to pull it off. And I think the third one for me, if I was going to go for a third one, I think it's really, really hard based on what they've got. I think you'd have to call somebody up from kind of NXT maybe. I think that's kind of the route you go down. I don't know who you'd get from NXT though. I'm not really too sure. I think they're the 2 I'd go for. What about you, Steve?
I mean, it's hard to think of 5 names. I mean, if you can look outside of WWE, you could find then say 1 or 2. But like Rosemary would be fantastic for Impact Wrestling. She would be real fit for that kind of role. Perhaps as well, someone like Abaddon as well would be a real fit for the role. So, but yeah, they're not signed with the company, so it'd be quite difficult. But to give a different name to what you've picked there amongst WWE, you've got to look towards the catering crew, someone that's not getting TV time at all, and that probably be the best place there. So just to give a wild name out of there, to it would break up the right squad. But Ruby Riott possibly could be someone that could fit the role.
Yeah, it's good. It's very hard, isn't it, to come up with 5 names? But thanks for the question. It's a loaded question, that's for sure. Got one here from Noob & Co. I'm pretty much done with Alexa Bliss with the supernatural stuff already. She's pretty much going to get buried if she gets a title. Yeah, she's doing the best she can. It's not her fault. I'm wondering whether this gimmick's there to kind of protect her. Hasn't she got a history of kind of injuries, which is maybe why they're trying to protect her from doing regular contact, maybe in the ring. She's not really had matches, has she, for a long time?
Yeah, she had the problem back with concussions back in 2018, which took her out of Evolution, sadly, and she never got that dream match with Trish Stratus she was supposed to have. But yeah, she's been back in the ring for a while now, and she has been competing on a regular basis. But since she's gone to this character, of course, it's gone more to the supernatural. And I suppose if you want, like you say, more of an attraction, I suppose when they're trying to present their superstars as attractions, perhaps there's more investment. Maybe it's for protection, but it's other superstars. Roman Reigns only had one TV match on SmackDown this year,
Wow,
so it shows
I'm
what
attraction
he is. Seth Rollins as well. How many Seth Rollins matches have you seen on SmackDown this year, or even on pay-per-view in general? He's being used as an attraction as well. They are starting to do this where certain superstars aren't being featured in ring every single week, and perhaps Alexa Bliss is just one of them. Maybe they think she could be someone that is seen as that attraction.
Yeah, good shout. It's a very interesting analysis you put there. So yeah, that would kind of make sense. I guess it plays it up. I think if we are going to get a similar Fiend type version from Alexa, then yes. Problem is once you get them winning all the time, it's very hard how to get them rebuilt once they lose a match, as we know before, based on the Fiend and stuff.
Yeah, I agree with that wholeheartedly.
Definitely moving forward. So we obviously had another rematch from Wrestlemania Backlash. This was on the kickoff show. It was United States non-title match, Sheamus and Ricochet. For me, obviously this was a match going. The title wasn't on the line. It was basically going after what happened the night before with the hat and the jacket. Really, really good match. Ricochet got quite a bit of an offense. I was really happy to see him sort of on this spot on camera. Crucially, we do end up with Sheamus putting Ricochet away with a bro kick. What did you kind of think of the match?
I enjoyed it. I thought this was the match of the night. I thought it was these two got good chemistry. I think Ricochet before the match had a small promo, didn't he? And I think that's probably the best promo he's had in WWE, to be brutally honest. Yeah. I quite enjoyed his work there. Everything about this was obviously to get Sheamus still over further as the United States champion, but this gave a spot to Ricochet to get him on TV, and I hope that he's taken it enough with two hands here, because I really enjoyed what they put together. So fingers crossed this is going to lead to Ricochet getting more TV time on Raw, because they had great chemistry in the ring. But even though Ricochet lost the match last night, managed to worm his way to get a rematch tonight, he is losing again. So I'm guessing Sheamus long-term will be going on to somebody else.
Definitely. I really hope so. I've got one question for you, Steve. So obviously Sheamus is continually non-title. Why do you think they're doing these non-title open challenges? I know it's a heel, it's kind of designed to get his heel heat over, but wouldn't it be far more credible if he's winning every week with the title on the line?
It would be, but you hit the nail on the head. It's to get that heel heat, because he's not a good guy. All these good guys go out there and do these open challenges every week. Why should Sheamus go and defend his shield? Yeah, I'll have an open challenge. I'll fight Humberto Carrillo and Mansoor on a weekly basis. But why should they go for my championship? It's a fun dynamic, but it hopefully is going to lead to the point where eventually he can't escape with this. You know, we all assume, and we've all said it, we want Keith Lee to be the guy when he comes back to be the one to come and do it. And the second that Keith Lee comes back, Keith Lee can't be ignored, or whoever comes in to be that role, they can't be ignored, and Sheamus can't get away with it anymore. He can't do these sneak attacks. He can't try and find a way to escape in matches. No. So I like the dynamic of where it's going, and I think long term, someone will actually benefit from this.
Yeah, definitely. I hope you're right. That is a dream match. We hope we see it. It'd be great to just see Keith Lee back on TV. I think it's overdue. So let's hope it happens soon. That's for sure.
Absolutely. I'd love it.
We then had our next backstage promo. We've got another return on this show. We've got the returning Mason T-Bar. We're obviously cutting to backstage. We've got the Retribution members there. They said they did a favour for Bobby Lashley, but it's now time to repay the favour. They promised to destroy Bobby Lashley and state that they're going to get the belt. They do a coin toss. It appears Mace won the flip. For me, it was an okay segment. It's great to see them back on camera, but I still think they just got such silly gimmicks at the moment. Still, I'm just still disappointed we've not had that split of Dijakovic and sort of out to do his own thing. What did you think of this promo?
Yeah, the Powers of Pain isn't quite working for me at the moment. It's a fun 80s throwback kind of look, but yeah, with the promo stuff, we've moved on, from the last 40 years or 30 years, whenever it was. And for me, it's good to see him back on TV, but I want to see him doing more. But it's interesting because Sheamus also put his name in the hat as well after his match. Mason T-Bar have done it. And this is what I actually quite liked about this, was building up through the night. Usually in recent times when people throw these open challenges out or say they're going to do something and no one puts their name forward. Wasn't it like a number of weeks ago, which I think it was Bobby Lashley wanted someone to step up and no one was like, oh no, I don't feel, I'm not up for that. And he went for the whole locker room and people saying, I've got Shane McMahon to worry about rather than a championship match. People who actually wanted to vie for the championship. So this was actually really positive to see. And after we talk about Damian Priest's match later on, I'll say a small idea of where I think maybe this could be going.
I wonder if you're going to say what I was going to say right next. Should we put this out there now? Let's put it out there now. I know you want to sort of say, let's see if we're thinking exactly the same now. We haven't spoke about this off air at all, but are you saying you'd like to pitch a stable of Damian Priest, Mason T-Bar? Is that kind of what you're going to say? Because I've had this idea in the back of my mind that although they're heels and Damian Priest is a babyface, this would be a great big man stable, even like a triple three-man big man stable that would be fantastic. Is that what you're going to pitch or not? Or is it something totally different?
It wasn't going to be. I was going to pitch something totally, but what I will say is that I like the idea of the stable because Mason T-Bar would need a leader at some point, but they had Retribution and that failed. As long as it wouldn't harm Damian Priest, I'd be all for it. But Priest at the moment does seem to be on some sort of roll. As long as if Priest goes up the card with people with him, Mason T-Bar would be great options.
Definitely. We're going to go to kind of the comments. I'll get your idea later. Please remind me. But definitely got a good one here from Steve, NXT. I suppose with the open challenge dynamic, you can look at it. They have to beat the champ to earn a title shot. No one should be able to just get a title match. The first person that beats him will be next. It's a fair point. I guess they should have to kind of earn it. Yeah, definitely. I like a defending champion, though. We're going to get to the point with Sheamus now. The belt's not defended over so many days. Surely that's a double standard. You have to defend the belt within so many days, didn't you? Or has that been dropped now conveniently when they need it?
They conveniently do it when they need it. The thing is, they should have had the belt defended at the pay-per-view. That should have been the time. Or Adam Pearce needs to come and do it occasionally, in my opinion.
Definitely. Got a good one here from Noob & Co. Have you heard that the Castlevania reference from Mace that's interesting? I haven't personally. I know Castlevania was a game. I know Mace is kind of a weapon of some sort. Do you know anything about this, Steve?
Unfortunately, I don't know.
Noob & Co, please put in the comments what it is. I don't mean to be slower or not get it, but yeah, I don't really know what the reference is. I know Mace is kind of a weapon that maybe was in Castlevania game. This is going back to many years. Castlevania, I haven't heard of that for years. And a good one from Mike Carrillo. We should acknowledge the Tribal Chief is the one that gives us good WWE programming. I agree. He's the one that gives us good programming. We have to acknowledge Roman Reigns.
Absolutely. We acknowledge him every week, it feels, at the moment. Roman Reigns is on a different level to everybody else.
Okay, so we've got this number one contenders match for the Raw Women's title. Oscar versus Charlotte Flair. This is obviously a rematch. Interesting match, really, really good. They got quite a bit of time. Crucially, though, we end up with Rhea causing distraction, and Oscar gets the roll up for the win. So for me, massive shock. I can't believe Oscar's getting the win here. I thought she was being phased out on her way out. But yeah, I enjoyed it. Rhea showed some real heel heat here, which is really, really good. I love the dynamic between Rhea and Charlotte, like the bickering and stuff. It's really, really good. But these women blew it out of the park for me. This was probably one of the matches of the night. What did you think of the match and the aftermath as well?
They have fantastic chemistry together, Oscar and Charlotte. There's no denying that whatsoever. I was surprised by the result as well. I thought it was clear that Charlotte was going to be going next for Rhea Ripley, like you say, with perhaps easing Oscar out of the championship picture for the first time in what feels like a very, very long time. But no, I mean, perhaps at the moment this is going to continue. It leaves us at an uncertain stage right now. Where is it going to go next? I was certain after WrestleMania Backlash that Rhea and Charlotte was the next direction. They still are the ones that seem to be going against each other in a way, but maybe Oscar gets a title match on TV on Raw in the meantime, leading up to the next pay-per-view, and that's where maybe Charlotte can get one or two wins to get in afterwards. I'm not sure it's going to quite play out, but no, this is very, very good. My only minor nitpick, and I have to say it's a nitpick, is that I don't know why, but we always come back to Oscar versus Charlotte. They are fantastic. They have great chemistry. Can we see something different? Because there's so many other women. There's so many feuds Charlotte hasn't had on Raw, and Oscar, to be fair, and some rivalries that Oscar hasn't had for years with some people. We mentioned Nikki Cross. Oscar versus Nikki Cross would be an amazing rivalry to watch. We haven't seen that. What about Charlotte Flair versus Alexa Bliss or Shayna Baszler? We haven't seen those as feuds. Would be amazing to watch, but take that out of account. These two had a great match. These two are fantastic. They have great chemistry in the ring. They always deliver. That one thing you can't take away from them.
Definitely, I agree. You made some fantastic comparisons. I think the Nikki Cross one's a great shout. I think all the matches you've named, I'd love to see, but WWE always go to what's safe and tested, don't they? They always go to this Oscar Charlotte match continually to the point of where you don't want to see it anymore. For me, do you think, I'll put this out to Steve as well before we move forward to Raw, do you think WWE should have done what we all thought and called Io Shirai up onto Raw? Do you think they should have done that after sort of the last NXT takeover? Because she's not doing anything on NXT, and she would have been a great opponent for Charlotte as well. That's another one they've missed out probably as well.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, that would be an amazing match to see. I would love to see Io Shirai on the main roster if she's going to be booked correctly. I have that fear factor. I feel Io would be safer on SmackDown for some reason than Raw. I think there's too many women on Raw, and it's easy to get lost in that shuffle. I would be much more comfortable with seeing Shirai versus Belair or Bayley or Banks. Those feel like the matches that I would be most keen in seeing right now, in my personal opinion. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I agree. I think you made some good points. Going to go to the comments here. He said, what a terrible night for Bobby Lashley. That's a Wrestlemania thing. That's interesting. I didn't really pick that up. That he said that at all, Steve?
No, me neither.
Okay, and Nubico want enough. Let me go. Are you back now, Steve?
Yeah, I've just got you back there. Hello.
Apologies, sorry for the technical issues. So going to go to the comments now. Got another one here from Nubico. Did I get the feeling that Charlotte Flair's becoming a third wheel in the Rhea and Oscar feud?
Yeah, in a weird way. I mean, originally she was the third wheel. She was the one that was brought in, wasn't she? To if you want, spice it up a little bit, because there seemed to be some lack of chemistry with Rhea and Oscar going on. But we thought that Charlotte would take over in the feud and be her and Rhea. But at the moment, as I say, I'm uncertain of where it's going to go. I wouldn't be shocked if we have another triple threat going down at this stage.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. What about triple threat Hell in a Cell? That could be fun, couldn't it?
It'd be very interesting to see. I don't remember many triple threat Hell in a Cells.
No, I couldn't tell you off the top of my head. Definitely not. Moving forward, got another one for NXT, Steve. This should be the point where Charlotte's put into a feud to build up the next baby face. I agree.
Yeah, well, for me, if I had the choice, I would turn Rhea babyface. I think that's we've got so many heels on that Raw women's side of the roster. There's only Oscar that I can think. Even Mandy and Dana Brooke are slightly heels these days. So we need someone to desperately to do it. And I think Rhea Ripley would be the perfect candidate. Definitely.
Good one from Michael. Issue Eyes needed more on SmackDown because you'll just be like Nikki and give us solid matches. Fair point, Martin. I agree. I think it's a good point. She's far safer on SmackDown, as Steve said already.
100% agree with that.
Okay, so we've got a backstage interview. We've got John Morrison there. John Morrison basically makes a lot of puns about the zombies. He crucially says that Miz is injured. Obviously, at the start of the video, we confirmed that Miz is out for potentially up to 9 months, which is obviously really bad news. What did you make of the John Morrison segment? I thought you made light of it, which is really, really positive. It's a good thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, Johnny Drip, he's going to do what Drip Drip does, doesn't he? And he's more of a comedy wrestler at this stage. And yeah, he kind of made light of the situation, I suppose. WWE want to take that heat away, don't they? They want to cool it down, I suppose. What better way to cool it down than Johnny Drip Drip to give a little bit of his sort of comedy element into the segment?
100%. I think you made some great points. So obviously we've got this lumberjack match. It's Damian Priest facing John Morrison. Crucially, it's a rematch. Obviously, we've had this match quite a few times recently. Interesting note, quite a few of the lumberjacks, the first time we've seen them on TV for a while. Nikki Cross is one of them, which is really random in a men's lumberjack match. Great to see her there. A few others as well. What did you make of the lumberjacks that were out there? I thought they chose some good people. It just shows how many people were kind of missing off TV that they could do stuff with. In my opinion.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, this is where we saw Nikki Cross back on WTV. So I was very happy. Just middle shot. She wasn't even like where they sort of hid her in the corner. She was front and center, focused. Well, they want to make sure that you knew she was back. You had the Viking Raiders there. You had T-Bar Mace. And that's a tag team match rivalry I wouldn't mind seeing. There were so many like elements of people around the ring that actually I thought if this was the lumberjack match that we'd had on Backlash, I think I'd have been giving this like a 9.5 out of 10 because I actually quite enjoyed this lumberjack match. And of course, John Morrison at times was being. It was a bit weird what was going on with the floor with the lumberjacks, but he was kind of doing his kind of like I don't know, his exercise program thing that he does where he's doing all sorts of mad flips in the air and going over people. But we got a fun spot as well, the superplex being done on most of the lumberjacks as well, and Damian Priest eventually picking up the victory, which I think was a must-needed victory. Again, the only nitpick I've got, we've seen this match far too many. How many rematches have we seen? I don't think we've seen one fresh match on this show to this point. We'd seen all so many rematches.
Yeah,
so
I agree with you. It's spot on. I think the thing with it is you're hoping Damian Priest goes on to something new. So to see this match again after the night before, it's just kind of such a disappointment, really. But you had a story for Damian Priest or a scoop or an idea you were going to put out there. Let's put it out there before we move forward.
Okay, right. So Damian Priest after this also suggested he could be the one to go after Bobby Lashley at the end of the night. And in theory, really, I should wait to the end of Raw to say this because it will play into how the Raw finishes. But of course, we suggested earlier in the video that Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley in Hell in a Cell seems the most likely direction. Well, we've seen that match. It's been done before. Do you remember the pay-per-view Armageddon 2000 where there were 6 people inside Hell in a Cell? Why not? We could build contenders up over the next few weeks and actually have an Armageddon Hell in a Cell match because we've not had one since the first time they've done it. And I think that would be fresh. That would be exciting. I think a lot of people would actually really like to see it.
Who are your 6 people? That's a fantastic idea. Give us your 6 people and I'll give you my 6 people.
Well, it's hard to pick 6 right now, but obviously Kofi won his match, which we'll come to very shortly. But Kofi would be one that you would throw in there. You look to your top dogs. Who's your main event people on Raw? I mean, obviously Drew McIntyre is going to be clearly in that match. If Braun Strowman can come back, maybe he gets in there, because Braun Strowman inside Hell in a Cell, that's got destructiveness all over it. And then you throw a couple of other guys in there. I don't know, perhaps that have been thrown the names in the hat, for example. Maybe Randy Orton could be someone that could go in there. Maybe, Damian Priest would be another one. Sheamus was the name that threw his name out there. So there's people that could get in and around that picture. It's easy to find 5 guys. You just got to build them up. We've got 5 weeks to do it.
Definitely. I like it. I really like the suggestion, Steve. It's really inventive. I wish they did that. It could be some great moments made of that. But if I was going to choose your 6 people, you've obviously got Lashley defending. You've got to go with, I'd like to see Riddle in there. I'd like to see Riddle Randy Orton, just for the interesting dynamic of them trying to work together. That can further build up. That's your 2. I'd also like to see Drew. Drew's got to be in there. And I think I'd also see Braun. I think the other one, you've got to do Damian Priest as well. I think if you put them in there, for once, Bobby's title's at jeopardy, isn't it? You could also, I guess you'd put Kofi in there instead of Riddle, maybe potentially as well. But I'm going to quickly go to the comments just before we move forward. NXT Steve, where does John Morrison go now that the Miz is injured?
Hopefully not catering or the lower end of the card. I'd like to see, I mean, it's not going to happen now because Frankie Monet is going to debut on NXT tonight. She's in NXT for the foreseeable future. I know Silk is actually going to be actually doing the review for NXT tomorrow on your channel, which I'm looking forward to seeing. But I would like to see her and John Morrison actually as a partnership like they did with Miz and Maurice back in 2016, because they, Morrison and Frankie Monet, when they've been in other promotions together as a duo, it's come off really, really well. And John Morrison, in WWE's terms, would be at least mid card to upper mid card. He could get to that level under that character and that sort of gimmick. But where I see it actually going, sadly, I think John Morrison, he's going to remain a comedy guy. He's going to be lower end of the card. He's probably going to be putting people over.
Definitely. I think you make a great shout. I just hope he's not sort of reduced to nothing now Miz is gone. It's a real shame because, as I said off there, the fact we're not going to see sort of this match between Miz and Morrison, it's something I was really looking forward to. They did a great job of it. But all the best to Miz, and I hope John Morrison sort of is treated well because he's a good wrestler.
Absolutely. Maybe there could be a situation because, I mean, WWE is known for, and this is what they're meant to be doing recently, is they take some superstars in of pushes and out of pushes. We've seen the 50-50 booking quite a lot. John Morrison may be having a few rough months ahead, but don't be surprised if Miz is going to come back and they want to do that storyline still. John Morrison will get a push in the few weeks beforehand, or no WWE standards, 2 weeks before, and then Miz will come back and he'll say, look, I was out for 9 months. Where have you been? And they'll just take it off from there.
I hope so. We've got another one here from Nubico. Thank you for your comment, Nubico. Well, that explains why Miz got eaten alive by zombies on Backlash, even though it was the saddest moment in WWE history. I think he got injured in the match. I think it was actually sort of, there was a spot with the zombies, but still, it's a shame that it happened. And less said about the zombies, the better, do you think?
I think so, yeah.
Definitely. And Martin Carrillo, speaking of Hell in a Cell, could we maybe see a triple threat match between the Usos and Roman inside Hell in a Cell? Do you want to get that first, or shall I?
I would love to see it. I did actually do a video yesterday, and I suggested the idea of Roman Reigns versus Jimmy Uso, same as what they did at Hell in a Cell last year with Jay doing the I Quit Hell in a Cell match, but have Jay Uso as the special guest referee. Where does Jay's loyalty really lie? That would be my kind of thing, because if Jimmy loses, he's got to join them with the tribal chief. But if Jimmy wins, not only do the Usos become head of the table, Jay Uso doesn't have to be the right-hand man anymore. He could be the one that's released. That would be something that I would really like to see from that. But just before we go to your point quickly, George, I just want to say quickly, I do think of one Hell in a Cell triple threat we've had in the past. It was in 2011. It was John Cena, CM Punk, and Alberto Del Rio, and that was in 2011.
Good memory. Good memory. Well done for putting that off the top of your head. Very good memory. In terms of your question, Martin, thank you for the question. For me, for a triple threat, I'd quite like to see it. It'll be interesting. I think there's a lot more meat on the bone there to go straight to a Hell in a Cell. So for me, I'd love to see the Roman Reigns, Cesaro, Seth Rollins triple threat. I think that'll be quite good fun. And I think it would really play on sort of the feud we've got between Seth and Cesaro, as well as keeping sort of Roman relevant within that feud as well. What do you think of that triple threat, Steve? Would you like to see that?
Yeah, I'd be down for that, totally. Especially as the fact you just said there's Cesaro, Seth, and Roman in triple threat. Cesaro and Seth, there's still got history going on. At the end of that pay-per-view, it would have continuity of trying to transition things as well as Seth versus Roman. Makes a lot of sense to me.
Definitely. We've got 2 more comments here from NXT Steve. Put Keith Lee in that 6-man Hell in a Cell. I agree. If he could be cleared, and like we know that, I think the problem with WWE is they've got a real reluctance to give him any sort of momentum where he may have to defend the belt. But we all want to see Keith Lee in it. He should be the main event, I think, really easily. He's that good.
Definitely. Absolutely.
And Steve Silk and Silky here, NXT Steve as well. Jay Uso on a pole match between Jimmy and Roman. That's Vince Russo booking there. I like it, definitely.
Put him on a forklift. That's what they should do.
Put him on a forklift. Got a good one in from Mex, WrestleMania UK. Thank you for your comment, Mex. I think Jimmy versus Jay in a cell could be fantastic. Roman on the outside just looking on.
Could be interesting as well. Yeah, they need to do Jimmy versus Jay. Every great tag team has a rivalry at some point. We've seen it with Matt and Jeff Hardy. You know, and there's been so many teams I could list off the top of my head, but literally Jimmy and Jay, they're at that level right now where people would take them with such credibility, and it would be believable to do so. So I'd be full in for that.
Definitely. So let's talk about this main event then. So it's obviously Bobby Lashley's open challenge. It's a non-title match. We have got sort of Bobby in the ring. It does end up with Kofi Kingston coming out. So this is Kofi Kingston's second match. Crucially, it's a fairly good match. It's to a fairly good standard. We do get Drew McIntyre coming out. Drew McIntyre sort of from nowhere grabs a cane. It does end up with him hitting Lashley with a cane. And we do get sort of Kofi stealing the win. What were your thoughts of the match before I go into mine?
Finally, a match I've not seen for a long time. I was so pleased to see Kofi answer this challenge. I was so pleased to see what felt like a fresh challenge for Bobby Lashley. And one thing that I thought in particular that's really stood out to me was that Raw's main event scene could be really strong, so much stronger than SmackDown if they booked it right. Kofi Mania, Kofi Kingston, AJ Styles is in the tag team, Randy Orton's in the tag team, The Fiend's off TV. We've had Braun Strowman, Drew McIntyre, and Bobby Lashley. That's a heck of a main event, 7 players you've got there. Why is WWE not booking people like this should be towards the top of the card, as well as trying to build new stars like Keith Lee, Riddle to go and match them? That would have been quite fun to see. But for me, I was quite interested with the match. I enjoyed the match. Yes, Bobby Lashley lost here, but I mean, we have to remember Bobby Lashley lost to Riddle in a kind of same sort of flippant way in January. It was annoying back then, but at this point right here, I was pleased to see Kofi actually pick up the victory because it furthered things with Drew and Lashley. And like I say, you start getting the idea that Kofi Kingston can be pushed further up the card. The championship match is coming his way. Is it going to be on Raw next week or the week after? Or is it going to be where we can lead to actually this multi-person match inside Hell in a Cell? Because that would be so much fun to see. So for me, I'm definitely looking at this a lot more positively than negative. I've seen quite a few bits of negativity on social media, but for me personally, I liked it.
Yeah, for me, I thought the match was fine. Let's get the positivity out the way. So the match was fine. For me, where I've got the trouble is this is a Bobby Lashley who doesn't really lose matches. You don't see Roman Reigns losing to Cesaro, do you? Let's be fair. You don't see, not Cesaro, that's totally the wrong comparison, sorry. You don't see Roman Reigns losing to Sami Zayn randomly by fluke. They've got to protect the champions. You know what I mean? I get it's good, but let's be clear of this. This is a Kofi Kingston that already had a match that night. So he was already weakened down. And I think this was a really, really stupid thing. I think the thing with it, I get it's true causing distraction, but you should never pin your world champion, really. And do you really trust WWE to do anything with Kofi Kingston? I think for me, it was just really, really sort of poor taste. I think they had a great opportunity in this open challenge to bring back somebody, whether it be Keith Lee or even go to SmackDown and get somebody else across. I think it was, I was disappointed by Kofi. I like it's a fresh match. Yes, that's great. It's a fresh match. For me, I just thought it was a disappointment. I think the end result as well just really kind of disappointed me because I don't really want to see Bobby Lashley losing to Kofi Kingston, even if it's by fluke. I think you don't want to beat your champions. You know what I mean? What do you think of that, Steve? It's controversial. I know you probably disagree.
No, I don't think it's controversial. I think you make some good points, to be brutally honest. I mean, I first thought it was going to be Xavier Woods when the music hit because Xavier hadn't competed. The only thing that I think makes it kind of a bit more protected here is the idea that when you look at things with Kofi Kingston, that he's in a position where he's been a former WWE champion and he didn't win this match clean over Bobby Lashley. If he'd have won the match clean, I would probably turn around and say that this would be, a bad thing. But at the same time, because of the fact that he did it with Drew McIntyre's help, and it was still a fluke roll-up, I think it kind of was protected. That's just my take on it personally.
I think the thing with it, I just think it's wasteful, like throwing away a win streak. Why would you build up a win streak to throw it away? As I said, you don't see Roman Reigns not losing a match in 2019, dropping a match. You know what I mean? Like, it should be similar respect for both titles, I think. These are your main focal points of your television product, so you should protect it.
I think it's a great point. I do agree with it to an extent, but then sometimes how do you build up challenges? No one can get to Lashley's level. No one's on Roman Reigns' level on SmackDown. We can put any challenger you want against Roman right now. And do you have any belief that anyone actually beat him at the pay-per-view? No.
Yeah, no, I agree. But then let's put it out there. This is also the same finish we saw earlier in the night. It's another cheap finish by roll-up, which I get you want to protect him, but I just thought it was disappointing for me, really. I'm going to go to the comments. We got one from Mike Carrillo. I was expecting for Keith Lee to accept the open challenge. We wish that would be far better. I'm sure you'd rather have seen Keith Lee in this spot.
I mean, I'm a big advocate for Keith Lee. I think could be the face of the company had to be booked right. So, yeah, I would love to see Keith Lee. And whenever he returns to WTV, I look forward to seeing where they're going to place him in, because definitely Keith Lee versus Lashley was a match I wanted at WrestleMania. So let's see what's going to go down when he comes back.
And next WrestleMania at QK, Kofi Kingston was terribly underwhelming. I'm sorry, I love Kofi, but we all wanted somebody else. I think that's what we kind of both said, really. We both wanted somebody else, but that's it. And then we got one from NXT. Steve, in Kayfabe, how do they decide who challenges Bobby, despite enough people say in there they were going to set the open challenge? It must have just been a race to who got there first, I think. Probably.
Pretty much. A brawling gorilla position to see who can get their music played first, I guess.
Let's try and put a positive spin on this then. So I'm going to try and turn it around a bit. So what we probably are going to get from this, we are going to get a Kofi Bobby Lashley title match at one point. It's not going to be on the pay-per-view, I don't think, but it's something different. I just thought this was a really strange way to kind of end the show, really. I think it certainly got that heat up between Drew and Lashley. I do get that, but for me, I just thought this is a Lashley. They haven't even had to give a win. He never gave a win to other people. They didn't give a win to Drew or anything like that before. It's just kind of one of them things where they've got to start sort of 50-50, really. They've got to be consistent with what they're doing in this booking, if that makes sense. I think you can't have him beating everybody and then just dropping like the odd loss. You're either going to have him losing matches more often, or you're going to have him on a win streak. Which one is it, really? That's the thing. That's where I have a trouble with it, really, ultimately.
Well, fair enough. I mean, for me, like I say, I keep my positive spin on it because I like seeing something fresh. I like seeing Kofi it's a position Kofi should be in and around. He shouldn't necessarily be the top guy, I would say, but he should be in and around. Since he had that WWE Championship win back in 2019, WrestleMania 35, he was a champion for 6 months. He was literally, on top of the world for a point. Then he went just straight back to tag team wrestling. He should have been upper mid-card. There was so much you could do with Kofi at the time. And we all kind of got that buzz earlier in the year when Kofi was going to be put in the Elimination Chamber again. Like, will we get Kofi Mania again? I mean, I don't think any of us truly believed he was going to win it. But that if Kofi was to actually get the momentum behind him, I think people would get behind him. And the thing is, you mentioned with your champion losing, I totally agree with all of that. But the thing is, though, Lashley was on his feet the second the 3 count hit and Kofi got out of the ring. He was back on his feet. And we spoke about this at the start of the video of how to actually get Drew McIntyre and Lashley feeling a bit more personal. Well, Lashley has lost the match here that he wouldn't have lost. He would have been dominant, and now he's going to be angry at Drew. This is going to go to another level.
I'm not arguing, but I would say I interject with you, Steve, and say that if Drew just attacked Lashley, it would have the same result without that loss on the record. Do you know what I mean? It would be exactly the same thing.
I disagree, because an attack after the match, he attacked him after the match a couple of weeks ago, and then what happened at the pay-per-view? Drew lost because Lashley, he still wasn't, it was still the dominant one. Now he's going to be more emotional because he's actually had his shoulders pinned to the mat. He would be actually the point. It's worse than an attack after the match. He's not getting the winner's paycheck. He's taking the loser's end home. Kofi gets the winning paycheck.
I've got one last point for you, Steve, as well. I've got to put this out there. This is the same Kofi Kingston lost to Elias exactly a month ago on TV. That's the thing. So that is a fair point. You don't go from losing to Elias to beating the world champion, even if it is a fluke. That's the thing. I think it's such a big jump up.
I've got one more then for you. Jinder Mahal.
Yeah. Where was he, actually? That's a good point, actually.
Wasn't on this show, but in 2017, he moved over to SmackDown. Within a month, he was world champion.
We'll see. I don't know. I don't think Kofi Kingston's going to do anything.
I don't think Kofi is, but I'm answering the point back.
That's fair point. No, it's interesting to get this controversy and get a bit of discussion about it.
Absolutely.
I appreciate, obviously, your opinion. But let's get to that point. And just before we rate the show, where was Jinder on this week's show? That was a missed opportunity, wasn't it?
It was a missed opportunity. I'd like to have seen Jinder on the show, especially as he got the win last week. He beat Jeff Hardy, in like 3 or 4 minutes? It would have been nice to see him do some sort of cameo on this show, even if it was a jobber. But hopefully next week, if they're slowly building people back up, that would be good to see. I know that Jinder brings some baggage. Some people like to see it, some people don't. I think that Drew and Jinder both want to have that rivalry at some point. Drew and Lashley isn't finished yet, so they've got a few weeks to try and build Jinder up to a credible level where they can actually turn around and say, this actually will be some sort of rivalry that would be worth seeing on pay-per-view. Because I think right now, if they're going to do it, I don't think everybody's going to be fully invested.
No, definitely not. I think they should definitely hold off. I just like to see them on camera, really. I think it's one of them things where you've started building something. We saw the stable last week debut. I just like to see that continuity week on week of seeing them slowly building stuff up rather than just forgetting about it and not even mention it, really, which is strange. Soon he was on the Wrestlemania Backlash kickoff show. He was actually on the bump, if that makes sense. And there was a big song and dance about him. It's just weird they didn't follow up this week. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, they should have done something. Although I must admit, I don't follow the bump. But if he's on Raw 1 week, he should be on there the following.
Let's score the show then. So I'm going to let you go first. Please score the show at 10. And what was your final thoughts?
I mean, like we said, there's some things you can take positive out of the show. There's quite a few things you can take negative out of the show. I think you got a smack bang in the middle. I'm going to go like a 5.5 out of 10 because there was stuff in it that was all right, but there was stuff in it that wasn't. So I'm going to go slightly leaning more on the positive side. So yeah, 5.5 for me.
Definitely. I'm going to let's score it like this. I think in-ring, it was fine. There was a lot of in-ring action that was really, really good. The matches themselves were good. It's just a lack of the storyline and everything else, the gritty stuff, the stuff that keeps us wanting to watch week on week was missing this week. But for me, I'd go 5 out of 10 as well. I think 5's a fair score. We got a new match in the main event, as you said, as you pointed out. It's just what they do next, really. I think the thing with it is we need to get this consistency. We see SmackDown every single week. And when we do our SmackDown review on Saturday, it'll be a totally different, probably, story to what we've seen on this Raw review, if that makes sense. It's just amazing the difference of shows, isn't it?
Well, it's amazing. It's the same company. That's the thing. But the real problem with Raw, if you took the hour of the worst stuff out of Raw and it was then a 2-hour show, you'd be saying the same as SmackDown. I mean, the only difference of what makes SmackDown a great show is Roman Reigns. Without Roman Reigns, SmackDown is the same as what Raw is. There isn't much difference in it. So for me, Roman Reigns is what makes WWE interesting at this point.
Definitely going to go to the comments just before we end the video. Martin Carrillo, I would like the parody version of Drew McIntyre that The Miz introduced on Miz TV to answer the challenge. That sounds good. I'd like to see that. It's a great point, Martin.
That'd be fun.
Got a good one here. To some WWE superstars going to Raw, we'll get them opportunities while others hit the catering. No other. Would you say I've got last ones for you, Steve, just before we end kind of the video today? Would you be a fan of them bringing back either the television title for the first time to WWE or the European title
tonight?
To WWE? Yeah. Would you like to see them do that and sort of to give these people that were in the Lumberjack match and stuff something to do?
Well, they've already got the 24/7 championship. There's too many titles to me in WWE.
Just gone, though. The thing is, that title's so far gone that we can't take it seriously. If you make a title that's actually competitive.
I mean, the thing is, if you made the European title, you would argue it would be it'd never be on pay-per-view. I mean, the thing is, the only way you could do it, like you said, a television title can work. But then I suppose this argument you're copying AEW, that the fact is that the main matches happen on Raw each and every week that you do that. It's a television, it's decided for your brand. So if it's like, I don't know, you can't even do the USA title because you've already got a United States Championship. So you can't do it the same as way TNT have done it. But you could do it. But for me, there's so many championships. And the thing is, so many storylines in WWE are booked around titles. They're not actually booked around personal feuds. If they were booked around personal rivalries, they'd be far more engaging, far more investing. And I think people would be far more positive about the product rather than just going, oh, it's another throwaway fatal 4-way for the tag team championships that, 3 of those teams, like you say, oh, Kofi was losing to Elias a month. Well, there you go. That's why people aren't invested in it, because they're throwing people in those positions.
Definitely got NXT Steve for the last comment of the day. If the European title gets a rebirth, that would end up on NXT UK.
Agreed.
Good shout, definitely. So let's kind of end the show then. So just obviously, I want to thank you, Steve, for coming on. I really appreciate obviously your input and hearing your thoughts of Raw. It's always good to hear. And I really want to thank you sort of for your time and just your input. Really, it's been really good to hear your views on this week's Raw. Great for all the comments as well. Really appreciate the interaction. As always, please, if you can, leave us a thumbs up. Please, obviously, subscribe to the channel as well. Any comments or any reviews that are left are really appreciative. And I really want to thank you all for joining and watching us. I hope you have yourselves a great week. Enjoy NXT tonight. And as always, stay safe and thank you for the support. I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and we'll be back on Saturday for SmackDown. So we look forward to seeing you then. I'm sure it's going to be a great show. We've got that fantastic Fatal 4-Way, haven't we? So that'll be really, really good.
Should be a lot of fun. Looking forward to it. Thanks for having us on, man.
Cheers. No worries.